Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Gorilla Sports Off Ice with JJ Jerez, Meghan Angley, and Jesse Montano, here to discuss all things Avalanche related. A lot to get into. Actually, not that much to get into. It's kind of just been more of the same.
It all feels like a lot right now because they haven't won. Like, I just want them to win so that we can stop talking about it.
They'll get there. It's kind of like it's like a golf handicap, right? The Avs are just giving the rest of the league a little bit of a runway, so that way they can make a more exciting push for it down the last 77 games
After tonight.
Yeah.
We talked about the Avs and how they're going to start the season a little rocky, and there's going to be naysayers around the league who count them out, and they're going to be sort of this sleeper agent throughout the course of the season and come back stronger. I still think we're in that period of them figuring some things out, but they can still win some games in that difficult period.
I kind of like the concept of, creating a little bit more, I guess, just pressure on the rest of the season, making the stakes a little higher. So that way the lull in December isn't such a lull. They still need and want to win games the rest of the way out,
Well, and I saw an article this morning that said history says this start for the Avs hampers their playoff chances. And like we talk about it every year, right? You need to get off to a fast start in the NHL because you don't want to be climbing over teams. You don't want to be chasing the whole season. But the other part that I do think people need to remember is it's 4 games. We read the stat the other night. No team has ever started 0-4 and won the Stanley Cup. 3 of the last 5 Stanley Cup champions have had 4-game losing streaks in the season somewhere. So again, it feels bad 0-4. Nathan McKinnon even told us that yesterday, that it feels worse because you have no points, you have no wins. And again, they could go out and lose tonight. So what I'm about to say is not me saying like, oh, they'll do this and it'll be fine. We see it happen all the time. This team could go rattle off 8 wins in a row. Suddenly you finish the month 8-4 and nobody gives a shit anymore. You know what I mean? So like, I know it doesn't feel great, but until this really starts getting to a point where it's dire, you're so far back that even an 8-game win streak is going to, put you like in the mix. That's when you're starting to get in a little bit of trouble. You're just not going to get me to like panic about this right now.
It's the goose egg that makes people uncomfortable, and looking at the standings and seeing the Avalanche literally at the bottom. But I like to kind of think of it as the Avalanche are just 4 games under 500 right now.
Right. I mean, no joke. Like it's statistically, it's possible. If they win tonight, they could come back from the road trip at 500. So again, it's like you said, it's the 0 that feels so icky right now.
Because in season, a 4-game losing stretch, you have the benefit of what it felt like to win games and seeing the team capable of doing as much. I think that's what's added pressure at the start of the season is, well, the team feels it certainly. Like, they don't really view this as, well, this just happens throughout the season. It ebbs and flows. I think they view the pressure of not having won one in front of the home crowd yet. I think that adds significance to why they especially are not happy with the place that they're in.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially traditionally. They're so good at home. Last year, they were phenomenal at home. So to come out with such a dud, it definitely stings.
Well, and the home, Jared Bednar alluded to that when they were 0-2. Like, well, I like having a home stand right now so we can get back on track. You need to win tonight just so that you don't start the season 0-4 at home. Like, forget starting the season 0-4. Losing 4 consecutive games on home ice to start the season would feel really bad. Again, the other thing that I keep trying to keep in mind for myself and to tell people out there, 5 weeks from now, this team's going to look very, very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And just everyone keep that in mind.
I think everyone is. I don't know if anybody's really losing it yet. I think maybe you think so?
Dude.
People are losing it?
Oh, people have lost it. It's already gone. Yeah.
Long gone.
Yeah.
I wanted to dive a little bit more into that Nathan MacKinnon conversation because I thought it was really interesting, right?
From yesterday?
Yeah, from yesterday. I liked how he tried to get a little snippy at the beginning of answering everyone, and then he answers the question very thoroughly.
I was so proud of everyone in that room. We all just held
honestly,
firm. We were like, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, the quote that stands out the most is just how he was annoyed about not having the team, and we'd just love to have our team. It would be great, right? So let's get into that part a little bit. I think it's starting to obviously annoy Nathan MacKinnon, the absences, the injuries. You can't help but think of Val Nichushkin first and say, well, this is self-inflicted. This isn't an injury. This wasn't unpreventable. This was something very preventable. I think Nathan MacKinnon, for the first time, we're seeing him actually maybe be a little bit rattled and pissed off about Val Nichushkin.
I had a lot of people put that, or I saw a lot of people talking about that in the comments, that they thought that his word choice there geared towards Val. Look, I actually just appreciated he used the word annoyed or annoying. Not having the team is annoying. When I asked him if it was something that they think about, because I was expecting the cliche answer of, no, worry about the people here. And he cut me off. He goes, oh yeah, we think about it. And, every time it blah, 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 like he acknowledged that. And then he brought up, he said, we're almost $40 million. Like we're missing almost $40 million in salary. And he said, those are good players. Like, there's teams all over the place that deal with injuries, but they're all throughout the lineup. It seems like these injuries are highly concentrated in the top 6 for forwards. And then, Devon Taves, top pairing defenseman. I appreciated the fact he never once used it as an excuse, never once said it's why we're losing, never once said, well, we can't, what do you expect when I play? But he acknowledged, like, yeah, it's frustrating as hell. We have a really good team, and it feels like it's never here.
Because it did feel like it extends past just the start of this season, that frustration, I think, to like the title defense season that had a lot of ups and downs throughout the course of it. And then I don't think he means it in this way, but, they're without Gerard and Nichushkin parts of the regular season last year, and Wood misses a pretty good amount of time due to kind of illness and injury stacking atop one another. Like, this has kind of struck them the last couple of seasons, just not having a fully healthy Josh Manson, on the heels of the Seattle exit. It's been hard not having Lehkonen, and kind of knowing that was going to happen. It just does feel like it's compiled to be this thing that now it's bigger than ever, right? Like, it's harder than ever for them to overcome some of these absences, but it does feel like an existing frustration that they've had to deal with as a team.
Well, every key injury slims your margin for error, right? And I've seen a lot of people in the last week talk about, well, it shouldn't matter. This team has shown that they can win with injuries. And that is true. I think that's been one of the, more impressive calling cards of this group over the last number of years is the cliche, the next man up mentality, and a guy goes down and someone else steps up, and, guys fill in. We're even looking at what Ross Colton is doing right now. Like, they've had a lot of situations like that where guys have elevated their game. But like I said, it's that margin for error gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer and slimmer and slimmer with every injury. And it slims by more for every key injury. And you're just at a point right now where I think there's people who are looking at it and saying, well, you've got McKinnon, Makar, and Rantanen. You should be able to win games. And I do think that is true to an extent. Where I really am, I am not excusing an 0-4 start. You got to find a way to carve out wins. San Jose has found a way to win a game. Anaheim's found a way to win a game. Like, right. Those are teams that are probably pretty comparable with where the Avs are at skill-wise right now. So no excuse for being 0-4. You got to find a way to grind one out. They need to do it tonight. But what I am fully willing to not punt on, but really look the other way on is like, I'm seeing a lot of, structurally, they're not as structurally sound. It's like, yeah, they're missing half their roster. And in 4 games, like we all knew they were starting without 3 guys. Oh, competition, spots that are open. Since then, I mean, what? The guys just keep falling, just keep dropping out of the lineup in these first 4 games. And it's actually, a miracle that Miles Wood is going tonight. Like it just feels like the numbers are being slashed every time.
It's a Halloween miracle. No, it feels like for the last 4 years now, this is kind of the norm. I mean, the Avalanche haven't had a healthy roster since that playoff run when they actually won the cup, and even leading up to that, they didn't have a healthy roster. So it'd be such a shame to look back at this window in 10 years from now and just be like, man, they really weren't able to win as much due to all the injuries, because honestly, that's a bad luck thing, right? You can't point to, oh, well, maybe it's the training staff that's not doing good enough job, or whatever people like to make up in their head. It's purely bad luck, and it's got to be frustrating for Nathan MacKinnon, who just wants to win, who just wants to be at the top of the league in every category he can be, to just be sitting by and thinking what could have been.
I think that's where people's panic has crept into. We're sitting here kind of talking about it's 4 losses. They can overcome this still, but there's a lot of fear around wasting McKinnon's prime, wasting Makar and Rantanen's window. And I just think it's still too soon, but I understand the motive behind that fear, because this does feel like a core group of players that has more cups in them. And to your point, if it's hampered by injury in a way that they can't overcome, that'll be really, really disappointing. I don't think it's something they can't overcome, but luck is a really important factor in all of this. I think those are the 3 key things that bring a team to a cup in the first place. It's luck, it's skill, and then there's that determination aspect. And this is a team that is lacking luck right now. They still have determination. They absolutely still have skill, as we established, right? It's a lineup with a Rantanen and a MacKinnon in it and a Makar, but they're just really not getting the luck component. And I don't believe that it's distributed in any particular way, but if they don't have the luck to start the season, so long as they get it late in the year and into the playoffs, I'm fine with the distribution of luck working out that way.
Sure, every season has its own roller coaster and waves of good versus bad. I guess if you're going to have a cold stretch, better have it at the beginning of the year so you can save up the heat for later.
Well, and to me, like I look at, because Nashville is also 0-4. These are the last 2 teams without a win, both at 0-4, both in the Central Division. Nashville spent a lot of money to build this roster that's fully healthy, that's 0-4.
Marchessault, I saw, wasn't playing yesterday.
Oh,
I don't know where he is.
They also gave UC Saros an 8-year extension this summer, and he has looked about as good as Alexander Georgiev has looked through the first 4 games. So, like, to your point, Megan, like if you got to put up with this now, knowing that in the back half of the season, you're going to have all these guys back. That's fine. But, like you go back to the cup here, like they dealt with a lot of injuries on that run, but where they were kind of able to avoid them was like, oh, this guy's out for a couple games. Hey, he's back. Oh, now this guy's out for a couple games. Right now, it's so concentrated. And there's a comment here about, is this the Avs' lack of development? And my dad actually asked me this last night. He's like, so do the Avs just not have any good players in the American League? It's like this whole roster is players that have come through the American League right now. There are 4 rookies playing on this team tonight. You know what I mean? Like I actually think this is looking at it the wrong way. I think the Avs would be in a lot of trouble if they didn't have players that were coming up through the organization right now, able to at least contribute. Now, again, they're 0-4, so they are in a lot of trouble. Those players coming up haven't helped, of course, but like, I just don't think Jared Bednar is anticipating having to dig this deep into the bag of lineup decisions so quickly.
I want to bolster that point because I thought about this a lot. I do think that there is some credit due to the development side of this. The result hasn't been good, and there have been mistakes made by some of these young players, but I don't think they're the reason the Avs are losing games. I actually think what they've done well is climb over a Jason Megna, who's just on an American League contract, but they could afford to do that with Megna this year. Like, they bring back a Tynan, he's in the fold there somewhere in the pipeline, a McDonald too. Wagner's still floating around as well, but Steinberg's playing, Ivan's playing, Kovalenko, Richie. That is a development win. And I know we've talked about the details of like Richie not necessarily benefiting from being in the system for longer. But either way, I think these players have really earned their keep. I don't think they're the reason that they're losing. I don't think it's a development problem. There's some, concerns around goaltending depth, which I think that is very fairly a development conversation. Annunen hasn't had the start that we would like from him, but it also feels really early to make any sort of sweeping conclusions about where Annunen's at.
I did find it interesting yesterday. Jared Bednar specifically said he did not think Justus Annunen has been good. And when I asked him point blank, I said, usually, you like to get your goalie in there, your backup, 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 5. And I said, I know him coming in relief a couple times and maybe skewed that. But what do you think? He was like, we'll see. We'll see. And he did not seem like he was very anxious to go to Justus anytime soon.
I feel like he's gotten a full game worth of minutes already so far.
Going into the third game, they had played equal minutes.
I guess, let's bring out the positivity spray and spray this set a little bit. They kind of started to figure it out. I think little by little, you're seeing improvement here and there. The second half of the Boston Bruins game, you're seeing a little bit of hope. So I think they're getting some momentum built a little bit, just about continuing to build off of it. And maybe, facing what should be a weaker team in Anaheim, I guess, depending what you get out of them on any given night, could be the perfect little recipe to take that large step forward into continuing the momentum that they have built, because it has looked better all around.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. And I think that was what made the was it the Islander game where they just looked like shit top to bottom? I think that was what made that one so disappointing. Was first 2 games you thought you played well enough to win, you got bad goaltending, but you said, hey, there's plenty to build on. Then there was just that huge fall flat on your face for the Islanders. And then there was a lot to build on from the last game. So to me, if they continue to get incrementally better, the results are going to come. And that's really what you care about. And then the comment up here about season is 10-game chunks. So anyone who's paid attention to the Avs at all knows they break games up into 5-minute segments and seasons up into 10-game chunks. It's all about winning the next 5 minutes. And then after every 10-game chunk, you reset and you go again. This team looks to pick up 12 points every 10-game chunk. They feel that'll put them in a good spot at the end of the season if they can be consistently every 10-game chunk picking up 12 points. So tonight you've got to look at it as, can we go win the first 5 minutes? Then can we win the first period? Then can we win the first 5 minutes of the second period? Can we win a game? And then how close can we get to 12 points in this first 10-game chunk? And then you reassess from there. So again, that's how I'd encourage people to keep an eye on it. And like you said, can you build on your first 5 minutes tonight? Can you build on your last 5 minutes from the last game in your first 5 minutes tonight and then go from there?
Looking at the 10-game chunk, the next 6 games, all very winnable games in Anaheim, San Jose, Seattle, Utah, Ottawa, Chicago. So the schedule makers kind of laid the carpet out. Okay, Avalanche, if you have a rough start, here's a great chance to rebound. So the opportunity's there. Let's see how they handle it. If they come out of this 10-game chunk 6-4,
right,
I think everybody can exhale.
Yeah. Well, and I think even if you come out of it 5-5, if you come out of this month at 500,
I just see that schedule and I think
I'm with you.
4 all over it.
Utah's dope though.
Did you see the Sean Durzi news though? He looked so good in their preseason. I'm sad about that, but they're still good in other ways. I still like that team. But I think that going on the road is kind of needed right now too. Things have not been working out at home. I do think they just need a little bit of change to break up some of what's felt like circumstance that they have no control over in things like the absences. I think they just need a reset, a change of scenery too. I still want them to win in front of the home crowd tonight against Anaheim. I'm not ruling that out, but I especially look forward to what the reset of going on the road might be able to do for this team and for them to grow closer. I think that's another challenge in a lineup with a Rantanen, a McKinnon, and a Makar. They're not playing with the people they normally play with, and I still think that there is some chemistry building. I feel silly saying that, but that does need to happen for this group still, especially with different lines being tried out nightly in game. I think that going on the road will really help something.
In D pairings as well, we still see them kind of trying with Devon Taves out, figuring out who goes well with whom. They'll spend the next week. Next week, they will be on the road for 3 games after tonight. So maybe the perfect timing for a little road trip. Let's look at tonight's top line. I'll take you back to the summer when we were discussing the possibility of Ross Colton being dealt. Tonight, he'll be skating next to Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. Ross Colton's game has been one of the bigger bright spots throughout these first 4.
I maybe been their most consistent player. Just love the compete, love the effort, and he's, what do we talk about all the time? Do the small things right, and you'll be shocked how often you find yourself in a good position to contribute. And he's done that. That was another funny thing that Nate said yesterday. He's like, yeah, and Ross is actually pretty good in the middle. And we were all laughing because I'm sure he didn't mean it that way. But like the way it came out was even like, can you believe it? Ross Colton, pretty good in the middle of the ice on the power play. But look, he's almost kind of becoming a little JT Compher-ish. Put me anywhere. I bottom 6, cool. I'll run around and bang bodies. Top 6, cool. I'll go to the net and, chip pucks in and, dig along the wall and feed him out front. Penalty kill, I'll block shots. Power play, I'll play in the middle. Like, he's just kind of doing a little bit of everything. And I'm totally with you. Big bright spot for them so far.
He's doing it all pretty well. Like, the Boston game opens with a penalty kill. Not ideal. He's excellent on it. It's a good kill overall. Then he lays a big hit on John Beecher and gets things going a little bit. And I think that's what he brings to the top line. That's a little different, a little unique to him too. I think McKinnon addressed this in the interview as well, that he kind of likes having that.
He compared him to Landeskog.
Yes.
And compared him to Lehkonen in the same
I think
breath,
the puck
almost.
retrieval part, very Lehkonen, and then kind of the banging bodies around is an edginess that is missed in a Landeskog. And then, of course, what he's added to the power play, which all this kind of was this, he's great on the PK, then the Beecher hit, and then the give and go with Rantanen on the power play goal. It's just such a reflection of like what Ross Colton can be for this team in a small sample size, but it's why I've liked it so much. They need him to be good at all of those things, like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, that's exactly who he's become. He plays with such passion and intensity. Like, he truly loves the game. Which I think maybe is something people don't fully know about him. But when we go get to go have a conversation with him, I mean, his answers are on point, very sophisticated almost as far as hockey goes.
They're very educated answers. Like he's not just, he's not giving cliches. Yeah, get pucks deep and make sure you're checking back. And like, he's very specific about like, this is where we're not good. This is where, we have done things well and how we can, like, he's very smart.
Yeah, has a high hockey IQ, and I guess that speaks to his ability to be able to play anywhere throughout the lineup,
even the middle.
Yeah, even
the middle.
So I think for the betterment of this organization, they should hold on to him. And all those conversations we had over the offseason about a potential trade chip, I think we should throw those in the trash.
I do think it's interesting because when Middlestat was extended, it kind of felt like, well, there's your future 2C. Ross Colton was once projected to be that. What does that mean then for the rest of his term in Colorado? I think it's undefined right now. It's not to say he's vying for the 2C spot, but he's proving that he can be a top 6 player as needed. And so I wouldn't rule that out for him as having that kind of a role in the future without coming at the expense of Middlestat too. I think both these things can coexist in the same universe.
I agree.
Let's look at the rest of the line jumbling from that Boston matchup. It was kind of hard to keep track of who's playing with who exactly. It's got to be tough for the players in that position to not exactly know.
Would you say it's got to be Tufty?
It's got
who had a tough night a couple nights ago. Sorry.
Yes, I would say that.
All right. No, that's it. That's all I had to say.
Just I guess your thoughts on Bednar getting back to just trying anything, throwing anything at the wall right now, seeing what sticks, and just how tough that is on the player's mindset.
You have to. I've lost track of the amount of times I've seen an Avs fan tweet, insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And it's like, one, if your real honest expectations that Alexander Georgiev's never going to win a game, that's just crazy. But two, in that same vein, you've got to mix things up. You've got to try some different things. And I mean, he's just the lineups are more just for us, like that they're handing out before games. That's just for us to have a piece of paper in front of us. We're getting 2 shifts into these games and it's all over the place because Jared Bednar is trying to find the spark. He's trying to find the right mix of stuff. And again, like if he wasn't trying anything, the criticism would be, he's not trying anything. He's just rolling the same guys back out there. And then when he's mixing things up, you get a lot of why is he mixing it up so much? There's no chemistry. And it's like, yeah, you've got to find new ways to mix things up. And then to what Megan was talking about earlier with finding chemistry, you're looking for the guys that can kind of generate some instant chemistry and can kind of get some stuff going and just get a feel for the way things are out there. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to play together every night. They're going to be, suddenly you found this combination where they're just finding each other tic-tac-toe, But the original 3-headed monster line of McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen, that was actually put together in, as we're trying to find the right mix. And it was immediately it worked and then immediately became one of the best lines in hockey. And again, Jared Bednar's not hoping to find another, version of that, but he's just trying to find, all right, who can be some guys who can get out there and just start clicking right away and have the same nose for the net and just, have the same energy level and things like that. And to Megan's point about the Ross Colton, Mikko Rantanen give and go, like you're looking for things like that. Who's going tonight? Who are some players that can kind of feed off each other? And when you're 0-4, when you've lost 4 games in a row, you've got to be trying stuff.
I pulled up Natural Stat Trick because they track different lines. And in order for it to even register a Natural Stat Trick, they have to take a few shifts together. Like the shortest amount of time played listed here is 42 seconds of a Parker Kelly line with Ritchie and Kovalenko. 9 different line combinations, though, that registered by Natural Stat Trick. So there's a few probably that don't even get recorded because they were on the ice for too little. 9 different line combinations from the Boston game. And it also shows you their Corsi 4-5v5. And so you can see which ones work the best. It's the ones that Jared Bednar is returning to.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to go back to when I said top line Logan O'Connor, put Casey Middlestat on the wing. This wasn't so crazy. And I just need the chat to know it. I just need the chat to know it wasn't so crazy. And one of the decently performing lines was Middlestat, McKinnon, and Rantanen. Not exactly how I envisioned it. Logan O'Connor was there, but I just don't want. Well, I want to silence the critics.
And Nathan McKinnon also spoke very highly of Casey Middlestat yesterday, both unprompted. Then when we were all laughing because he unprompted said Mitz is unreal, and so I kind of said, how nice is it to have that player? Given all the injuries, it wasn't a guy who started here last year. And Nathan McKinnon went on and on for over a minute talking about how good Casey Middlestat is. And he got to the end, he's like, I guess I don't know what to say. And in my head, I was like, sure you do. You just said it all. That was great. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a duo that we start seeing teamed up a little bit more. Nathan McKinnon said that he, in particular, and Casey Middlestat think the game the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see it. Going back to camp, McKinnon found Middlestat as they were getting onto the ice, and they would not stop talking when they were just kind of doing the opening warm-ups. And that was when they started doing power play work. And so it was when Middlestat was being added to that top unit. So, there was purpose behind it. But the way that you see them communicate on the ice, it's evident that McKinnon likes playing with him, and they find each other very well.
Yeah, and tonight we'll see, at least to start the game, Middlestat will be with Logan O'Connor and Kovalenko. I
like that
really
line.
love the idea.
Yeah, I like it.
I think there's a lot to like about that line. A hardworking line with Middlestat kind of anchoring the skill set.
Here's what I will say about that line, and then just across the board in general. There has to be a player on every line that's going to shoot. Look, I shoot at guys drive me crazy. You're not looking to shoot the puck 100% of the time it's on your stick in the offensive zone. There's plays you're trying to find develop. There's lanes that you're waiting to see if they open. There's give and goes. You're like, there's all that stuff. In the Boston game in particular, it was the first time it became glaringly evident to me. These guys are passing up on shots. Looking, and I feel like you get into that mode when you're facing these types of situations. Because as much as I didn't like the Islander game, Sorokin played outstanding.
Yeah.
And he made, for as loosey-goosey as the Avs were all over the place that night, if it weren't for Sorokin, the Avs had enough high-end scoring opportunities. They could have at least made that a more interesting game near the end. But Sorokin played really well. And it felt to me in that Boston game a little bit like, well, pucks aren't going in, so we need the perfect play, which I find is funny because pucks are going in for them. Like, Cale Makar scores on a one-timer from out high. Mikko Rantanen from, almost damn near out at the wall. Like, pucks are going in. I don't get why they are trying to fine-tune every last rush and making one last pass, trying to find the wide open guy. Put pucks to the net. And so, like, when I hear Kovalenko, Middlestat, O'Connor, my only worry is who is going to shoot.
Kovalenko needs to be the shooter.
Yeah.
I don't feel Middlestat's too afraid. I mean,
I agree with you. I don't think these guys are normally, but they looked allergic to shooting the puck last game.
They did.
And it came at the expense of rush chances because they would be overpassing deep in the offensive zone looking for the perfect passing play that when it didn't go according to plan, it allowed a rebound that, Boston took the other way. They were too deep to be any use on the back check to cover the rush chance.
Well, and the Sam Girard one is the one that comes to my mind immediately, where, I mean, he's 20 feet out from the blue paint, coming, right down Main Street with a clean look at the net.
Yep.
And he made a pass, and you could tell that whoever it was he was passing it to was like, why were you making that pass to me? You had the shot.
Yeah.
And so you're catching guys off guard because they're not expecting you to distribute a puck in that situation. And it led to a clean breakaway. And Alexander Georgiev he had 2 or 3 saves in that game that kept the game close. Again, I think he said it best after. You gave up 4. It's hard to say you played well. But he had situational saves that kept the Avs with an opportunity to get back in the game. And there were multiple opportunities that, to Megan's exact point, the Avs overpassed and overplayed rushes, and it hurt them going back the other way. So you're right. It should be Kovalenko. Casey Middlestat's not afraid to shoot. Tonight needs to be a volume shooting night. They need to be the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. Pucks to the net. I thought, Greg Cronin was even talking about that with his group.
I was just about to get into that because he said it so well.
Perfect.
I don't care who's in it.
Yeah. And just, you can generate more shots by just throwing the puck at the net. If you're outside of the house, what he called the home plate, man, that accent is thick. Also, by the way,
thick.
Cronin.
Yeah.
I would suggest, if you haven't already, check out the Greg Cronin interview that we did this morning with him. He says a lot of great stuff, and him being back in town, it was a little more Avalanche oriented, so you don't have to bore yourself with Anaheim,
all the Duck stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, him just talking about how he's trying to get his players to kind of break that same mindset of don't overpass. You don't have to go for the backdoor tap in. Simply getting pucks to the net can generate more chances through rebounds and traffic.
Well, and I loved the way he said one shot can turn into 2 shots if you just get it to the net. And again, you got to have good shot selection. You don't be taking 360 clappers from the blue line every time, but pick your shooting lanes. But if you've got a lane, put it to the net and trust that you're going to have guys going there to help you clean up whatever happens to be there. And worst case, you're getting an offensive faceoff.
Cale Makar, I feel, has made a whole career of doing that. I mean,
Yes.
how often do we see him just throw a wrister? Sometimes even means to put it wide to get it off the boards and have somebody, or he'll get a handful of assists just from just tossing it in there and seeing what happens.
Sam Malinsky, I feel like, is really good at that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like what you said. It's like their confidence is a little broken. So they're not wanting to shoot. They're wanting just that backdoor tap in easy goal. But that's not where their confidence should be broken. Their confidence on their shots and their ability to score goals has been just fine. Their shooting percentage is a little bit low, but that'll regulate. Like
Ross Colton should have the Zach Hyman mentality tonight. I'm going to the net with my stick down, and one of these other guys is going to bounce the puck off of it. Zach Hyman scored 50 goals last year. I think he followed through on 2 of them. You know what I mean? Like, go to the net, put your stick down. You're going to find some rebounds. You're going to find some loose pucks. You're playing with one of the game's premier elite passers in Nathan McKinnon. Mikko both.
True.
Mikko Rantanen is what I meant to say, but Nathan McKinnon's a great distributor of the puck as well. Go to the net. Stop looking for the backdoor tap in and go to the net and find loose pucks. The end.
Yeah. Tonight's the night of opportunity. So Avalanche going back to Georgiev tonight. You kind of touched on it a little bit, just the lack of confidence in Annunen. But I think you have to let Georgiev continue to work through this. You're seeing progress. You're seeing, albeit a slow climb, you're seeing a climb. And if you could just keep allowing him to get through this on his own, I think that'll be more beneficial than any other way he can get out of this funk.
I'm sorry, I was reading the comment about the 360 clappers. Me and my buddy Zach used to, at the end of practice, we would just try to take as many 360 clappers as we could. You're talking about Georgie?
Yeah, I
completely agree with you.
I giggled when you said that because I feel like I've seen Cal Ritchie do that very thing a couple times. Just get the puck to the net, and you're like, what are you doing? So there is a fine line to walk between get pucks to the net and shot selection.
Right. But I completely agree with you on Georgiev, that I understand where people are coming from saying that he hasn't played well or anything, but he's your guy. You're committed to him, at least for right now, and you got to let him play through it. And I agree with Jared Bednar from yesterday. Justus Annunen has not looked good, and I don't care if he's come in hot, cold, lukewarm, or came in off the streets in his street clothes. That is the life of a backup goaltender. And if you are a backup and you want to be a starting goalie, you have to make the most of your minutes, whether it's 2 minutes at the end of the game or 60 minutes and you get the start. Justus Annunen had a huge opportunity in those first 2 games to come in and steal starts away from Alexander Georgiev in the opening weekend. And he fumbled. If Justus Annunen had come in that first game, let's even say they lose, but had played well, gave up 1 goal. That was a really hard-earned goal for Vegas. But the Avs were able to climb back in it, and they lose. All right, you come back here, he probably gets that next start.
Yeah, especially against the Ducks. I think I remember last year they kept giving this game to Prosvetov.
Mm-hmm.
So
and so you would have had Columbus as a start, and he could have really built on something. Doesn't happen. He falls flat against Vegas. Well, he gets another chance to come in against Columbus at home, a game where the Avs did climb back in the game. Within 90 seconds from entering the game, he suddenly had a 3-3 score. It was his game now to own and to get a win out of. And again, that I think could have springboarded him into a start 2 nights later. He was the reason the Avs lost the second game. He really struggled. Gave up 2 weak goals, really struggled to bounce back, and that was it. So he had 2 massive opportunities, not just to play well and to build his own stock, but to start stealing minutes away from Alexander Georgiev, and he did nothing to help himself. So you have to let Georgie continue to play through this. He's building. Now if he goes out tonight and gets shelled and gets pulled, you're calling the embassy like, all right, what do we need to do here to get this stuff with Kakinen expedited?
Got a George Washington
Right.
name on it. Yeah, and not next week, but the week after, the Avs have a back-to-back, with the second night of that back-to-back being against the Chicago Blackhawks. We remember last year what Justus Annunen was able to do against the Chicago Blackhawks. That might be the perfect opportunity to let him rebuild his confidence and start to dig himself out of this hole. But that being said, do we see Kaapo Kakinen next week during the road trip?
I think so.
I think we need to see what we have in him as a goaltender.
I think Justus is in trouble here. I think Justus is in trouble at the NHL level.
And I think that, Justus's path has kind of been marked by this type of adversity. So if he's meant to be backing up in the NHL, he'll capitalize on the opportunities that he will get inevitably. But I do, I like Kakinen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be what it is. Like the right goaltender will win, but doesn't make me believe in Annunen less. It just might mean I believe in Kakinen a little bit more.
Well, and I'll tie it back to something that a great point that you made earlier, Megan, about goaltending depth. Like if suddenly you can return to Justus Annunen being your third, you feel a lot better about that.
a year ago, that's where I had his path, to be honest with you, and I like him a lot. For him to have had the year he had last year and kind of become the backup conversation, that was such an exciting development because I hadn't put him in that role before, and not this soon. And so I think that he's still a young goaltender, all things considered. He can still be making his way to a backup job, but starting as third string, I think makes a lot of sense for him. I don't want him to not get starts. I think that will also hurt his development, but I think that they're going to find spots for Eustace to still get in games. The priority is getting Georgiev right now.
If you're not going to go out and make a splashy trade to replace Georgiev, one that would see him moved out and a new guy brought in, which I do not think is on the bingo card right now. Yeah, she's right. That's the top priority, is getting your starting goaltender's game in order. And then, yeah, when Kakinen gets here, you can start distributing starts and lowering the workload and all that. But right now, as much as we like Jussi Sandinen as a person, he's always great to chat with. It'd be great to see the Avs develop him into an NHL goaltender. He's not winning you the Stanley Cup this year. And whoever you think is capable of doing that is who you've got to prioritize getting their game right. What?
I doubt Vegas thought Aiden Hill was winning.
You're right.
The cup
You are
that
right.
year.
You are right. You're totally right.
Well, again, the next 6 games present a lot of opportunity, juiciness for the confidence of goaltenders. So I think.
So I'm going to be interested to see how Kakinen comes in, because there's no way that guy's agent isn't sitting there telling him, like, are you looking at what's happening? This is a roster that, when it's healthy, can win a Stanley Cup. You can go win a Stanley Cup, and there's potentially even a starter job up for grabs. Because again, Kakinen, you got him off waivers, so you've got to stay realistic with it. What, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, there was a lot of conversation around this player as one of the next, young goalies that turned starter in the NHL. So again, like, I'm not saying that that's what Avs fans should be expecting, but if I'm him and if I'm his agent, that's exactly what I'm eyeing right now. Like, can I recapture that as this team gets healthier? And can I suddenly be the backstop behind this Stanley Cup caliber team when you get all your bodies back?
And, more to the conversation of the agent, he's a free agent after this season. So it's like, hey, you could really earn yourself some stability for the future if you have a good showing here in Colorado.
If Capo Kakinen comes in and whether they win the Stanley Cup or not, if he can come in and steal the starting job away, carry this team into the playoffs, win a round, maybe 2, let alone, if he went on to win the Stanley Cup, yeah, you could be setting yourself up for the rest of your career with the right performance this year. The rest of your career is in the bag, literally. If you can go out and play like you played 3 years ago in Minnesota, behind a team that is going to get healthier and is going to get more structurally sound, you can come back, stop that. Not only are you going to give yourself a chance at a ring, you're going to give yourself a chance at a lot of money.
When at fuller strength and ability, the Avs are a team that I think a lot of goaltenders would like to play behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he hasn't, Kakinen, that is, had that kind of support, really. And I hope that he can get, like, the Avs right now aren't that team that really helps to support the goaltender. But I still think the way that they like to play can absolutely benefit Kakinen the way that year 1 Georgiev, got a boost.
Yeah. And like I mentioned on the last show, I'd love to see the competition. Both Georgiev and Kakinen playing for contracts this year, plus the added competition of that starter spot being up for grabs. I think it could really make some healthy competition.
The competition that hasn't been there for Georgiev yet during his time in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Francouz battled through injuries, then had to retire, who, as we've talked about on this show, man, how, of all the players we talk about they're missing right now, how much are you missing Pavel Francouz? So, I mean, there's your done. We'll just go to him.
Yeah, I'd be curious about his thoughts watching all this unfold. Just probably a tear.
Probably a lot
down
of
his
swearing.
Yeah.
Swearing?
Mm-hmm. That could have been me.
Oh. I hope he doesn't have regret.
Well, I mean, what do you regret? It's, wasn't up to him.
No, exactly. Like it couldn't have been him.
Right.
I hope he doesn't feel a longing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's happy.
A longing. What a word. What a word for that.
Looking at tonight's matchup, a must win, right? You guys
Yeah.
think I'm crazy for saying that?
No.
I think the power play has been phenomenal. The Anaheim Ducks, very young, hoping for some undisciplined hockey tonight, giving the power play plenty of chances to go out there and just pull away from this game. I know it's crazy, but I even like the Avs on the puck line tonight.
Yeah. When you throw up that comment from Casey about Kakinen being the savior, there's no goaltender that's coming in here to be the savior for the Avs. That hasn't been the case basically in this entire regime's tenure. The goaltender is not the centerpiece of this team. You're looking for a guy to be good enough. So, and I know that I'm probably taking this comment too literally. But like, no one is waiting for Kakinen to come in and be the savior for this team. It's, can you get someone to come in and complement what should be a very strong core at full health? The Avs are looking for goaltenders to complement their team, not be the savior. Georgiev has struggled. He's shown inconsistency in all 3 years that he's been here. So yeah, I think it's really fair to say here's a goaltender that has had very high upside in the past, found himself, I was talking to people in Winnipeg when he got waived that they were really hoping to sneak him through. They got caught with too many goalies in Winnipeg. They had, too many options. And so they were trying to sneak him through, but they did not want to part ways with this guy. And so, I think you can sit there and say younger goalie, can he come in and be a better complement to this group than what Georgiev is? But I just want to make sure that that's being floated out there. Nobody is expecting a waiver wire goaltender to come in and be the savior. And really, if you're expecting any goaltender to come in and be the savior at this point, you don't understand that position.
I see him being a savior, I'm putting it in quotes, not because of elite goaltending that he provides, but because of trust. Like if this team is desperately in need of rebuilding trust with their goaltender to the point that they're not actively thinking about it and deviating from the way that they play hockey because they're so worried about their goaltending, that will be a little bit savior-like, but not in the way that I think they mean it or the way we're talking about.
Right.
I think they just need to rebuild trust in a goaltender in a very normal baseline way. They don't need elite goaltending to get it either, but I think the Avs have even deviated from how they've played hockey as a result of goaltending and distrust in it.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive zone is their focus right now. We've heard it from Jared Bednar, what he was asked this morning about, was it shooting percentage or something along those lines? He's like, I haven't even looked at that. We've been focusing purely on defensive zone coverage. I heard that from a couple players today. So like you're saying, that's what the Avalanche is built around. The defensive zone coverage, the defensive cores group and their ability to keep pucks at bay and keep chances at bay. That's what they need to get back to. And I think the goaltending will find its way there, but you need someone that you can be confident in.
And you also just need to win a game. Like all of this is so in everybody's head. Like it's in everybody's head right now. Like you walk into that room and there's just, you can just cut the tension in the air. Like you can just feel it. They're all staying positive. They're all saying the right things. But like even us as media, like we're all talking in the media room, like, can we get a win so we can change this line of questioning from, how do you dig out of it? How do you start? Like they need a win. They just need a win and go from there. And that's going to really feel like change a lot of how everyone's feeling.
Tonight's the night on the back of the power play. Like I was saying.
There you go.
It's been great.
It's been sick.
It's been sick.
It's been greatly sick.
So yeah, I'm feeling good about tonight. I think the players have had enough. They're sick of it. They're to the point where they're annoyed. I like talking to Sam Malinsky because he's very blunt, very honest. I asked him today about positives. He wanted no part of it. He's like, yeah, there's been positives, but we've been losing, so we don't care. I'm ready for this team to get something back on the right track, have something to celebrate here, and build off of that. And again, I think tonight presents that perfect opportunity.
I'm with you.
I love it.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I have for today. Today's a quick Friday show. People don't really want to hear us jibber jabber all that much on a Friday. They want to get back to listen to their tunes that the young people enjoy.
Did you like Steinberg's NHL debut?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get on the board with a goal, why not start your NHL career with a fight against maybe the biggest dude in the NHL?
He didn't even pick it. I just want to make it clear, but he answered. So I think he deserves a lot of respect for that.
Well, and he did not lose the fight.
Well,
No.
luckily for him, it was over quickly. Like,
Well,
they fell
but
to the ice, and it was that.
Neither really got.
But I'm
a
gonna give Steinberg credit here. He got that right hand loose, and he wasn't making contact on really much of anything. But you could tell he was like, "You're not getting it. You're not getting it. I'm just swinging. You're not getting a hold of this thing." And like Zadorov wasn't ever able to
No.
set in the fight and get any punch in, because he was like, if I look at him, I'm catching a stray fist to the face. no power or anything behind it, but I'm definitely catching something in the eye. And so he got that hand loose. It was just like, you're gonna have to kill me if you want me to stop swinging. And then Z brought him in close, and he was just like, yeah, it's enough of this, and dragged him down.
Yeah, obviously he did enough for Bednar to like him. I think he'll be in the lineup tonight. So, and Bednar, he was kind of that guy as a player, so he has a lot of respect.
I think he has a soft spot for that type of player.
Yeah, he does. He'll act like he doesn't, though, right? He'll
True.
act like, that's not part of the game. We're out here to score
Performance,
goals,
not experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think he has little adopted sons. I think he loves Logan O'Connor like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Agreed. Well, yeah, that's all I have for today. Anything else you guys want to throw out there before we get ready? And it is game night tonight, so hopefully all of this plays out in the Avalanche's favor.
I'll be in San Jose starting tomorrow. We're in it.
He's leaving the Avs organization.
Yeah.
If they lose.
That was what Blake told me earlier. He's like, actually, did we not tell you? You cover the Sharks now. We're just getting you a one-way ticket there.
Send me to Florida.
What is this, traitors?
Hey, don't yell at me. I was told this.
You're right.
Yell at the snow.
Yeah, you should yell at the snow. We walked out of the arena today.
Okay,
it was the same temperature outside as it was inside, and I was like, oh, I hate that.
And it wasn't even that cold.
No,
it's definitely
perfectly acceptable outside, but I'm just shittier mood immediately. Because it is so nice to walk out of the rink. You're a little tense, and you just feel that sun hitting your muscles. Can just kind of relax a little bit. I walked out today, and I clenched even tighter.
I didn't like the shock of how cold it was when we left either.
Oh, and I'm just realizing I have to start starting my car before we leave the game.
Just want everyone listening to know that he can remote start his car and get it warmed up, so you don't feel bad for him.
But it's so cold.
He's so cold.
But yeah, gearing up for the first road trip of the season. Jesse is.
I am
getting back in the swing of things.
California. Hopefully it's a little bit warm. It's San Jose, so my hopes aren't too high for the weather.
Well, that'll do it for today's show. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Catch us post game as always. Catch us Monday doing the podcast, reviewing the weekend that was. We'll be talking about 2 games at that point, so we'll see how they unfold. Everybody have a
got some fun stuff coming next week too.
Great night tonight watching the game. Have some fun and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.